Africa, where protests are ongoing in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi.
Police in Kenya have been using
It's been a similar story in Nairobi city centre.
Kenya's President William Ruto has condemned.
Medics there say several people have been shot dead by police.
Namibia, Nigeria, South Africa, Senegal. There has been a new wave of protests in recent years across Africa, which have majorly been led by social media generation, also known as Gen Z. Since 2020, young Africans have gone beyond using their devices for selfies and games, engaging in banters between countries, to actually fighting for social and political change. In Nigeria, Ash Ensas, where Nigerians protested police brutality. In Namibia, Ash shut it all down. Young women called for an end to gender-based violence. In Liberia, Ash raped national emergency. Young women protested the rape culture. And most recently, in 2024, Ruto must go. In Kenya, to protest a finance bill. The protest that, in my opinion, signals Gen Zs have had enough of insensitive leadership and will no longer take a passive position. How exactly did these young Kenyans achieve success? In May 2024, the youth of Kenya orchestrated a movement on TikTok that rapidly evolved into a full-blown revolution. Who would have guessed it would be TikTok? You may wonder, why did Kenya revolt? Imagine in an ideal world, 1 in 6 Kenyans shouldn't be living under the international poverty line as reported by the World Bank. Surprising, isn't it? Especially given that Kenya's economy boomed by over 200% between 2005 and 2016. Astounding growth, yet the shadow of poverty looms large. So, what's the catch? Why are so many still struggling? The culprits are debt and inflation. Kenya has been entangled in a vicious cycle of loans taken to repay previous debts. Add to that the stringent conditions set by lenders like the International Monetary Fund, and you get a recipe for continued hardship for the common Kenyan. The pandemic only made things worse. Global economies were negatively affected when the pandemic hit. This includes economies of Western countries and China, which Kenya had borrowed from. And as a result of the economic plunge these Western countries faced, interest rates hit the roof, and so did Kenya's debt. Lacking creativity and political will to break out of the debt cycle they are locked in April 2021, Kenya secured a $2.34 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund to tackle pandemic-related financial strains and existing national debts. Fast forward to 2024, and the government, desperate to stay afloat, introduced the controversial finance bill, following the less explosive yet still unpopular 2023 finance bill. President Ruto's decision to pass the latter had already simmered public anger, but the new bill was the final straw. The government's solution squeezed its people financially, turning public frustration into outright fury. In summary, the Kenyan government, facing economic challenges, turned to its citizens to bridge the financial gap, leading to widespread discontent and a youth-led revolution ignited by social media. You might wonder, what exactly did the 2024 finance bill contain that drove Kenyan youth to risk their freedom and lives? Introduced to the National Assembly on May 9, 2024, the bill proposed harsh taxes on essential items like a 16% sales tax on bread and a 25% duty on cooking oil. Let's break it down. Bread, which normally costs 68 Kenyan shillings, would jump to 78.88 Kenyan shillings with the new tax, making this staple unaffordable for many. The same devastating math applies to the cooking oil. The bill also planned to hike financial transaction fees and slap a 2.5% annual tax on vehicle ownership. Imagine having to pay 2.5% every year on a car you already owned. Then, there was the Eco Levy, an environmental tax on plastic packaging, diapers, and sanitary pads. This felt like the government was saying, don't have kids or don't menstruate until we are debt-free. Outraged by these proposals, Kenyan youths launched an online movement similar to Nigeria's EndSARS protest in 2020. On June 18, 2024, after the bill's details went public, the streets erupted in protest. These peaceful demonstrations aimed to force the government to scrap the bill. However, the government stood firm. The protest spanned 7 intense days, with heavy clashes between demonstrators and authorities from Nairobi to Mombasa. Over 200 people were arrested and more than 20 were killed. Despite the violence, the youth persisted. On June 25, 2024, Parliament made minor changes to the bill regarding bread, oil, vehicles, and transactions, but protests continued, demanding complete withdrawal. On the same day, the bill passed, and in a dramatic turn of events, the parliament was set ablaze, echoing the fervor of the Arab Spring. Finally, on June 26, under immense pressure, President William Ruto considered and withdrew the finance bill, marking a significant victory for the protesting youth.
And listening keenly to the people of Kenya, who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede.
The protest will leave about 100 people arrested, over 200 injured, and about 53 people killed. On July 11, 2024, President Ruto responded further to the demands by dissolving the positions of all cabinet secretaries and the Attorney General, retaining only the Deputy President and the Prime Cabinet Ministers. Taking a view from the outside world, one might say that Kenya is relatively peaceful for now. However, President Ruto isn't so pleased as his goal to drag the nation out of debt has been truncated. In Kenya's case, a key solution might be to resist being a yes man to global lenders. Rejecting the harsh loan conditions that have long kept Africa impoverished is crucial. The urgency to secure debt financing should never overshadow the well-being of the people. Alternatively, slashing the salaries of political office holders would make a significant difference if politicians truly entered the arena to serve. Now is the time to prove it by accepting reduced compensation in the country's time of need. Another strategy is to enhance domestic production and boost exports, thereby reducing reliance on imports. While I'm no economist, Kenya certainly has access to economic experts at home and abroad who can develop tailored solutions for Africa's unique challenges. The real hurdle is mustering the political will to implement these expert recommendations. By adopting these measures, Kenya could move towards a more stable and prosperous future, ensuring that the interest of its citizens comes first. If you found what you just watched informative and entertaining, please do not forget to leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to get updates on our releases.
The government cannot be enjoying on our behalf. They are buying private jets and people are staying under the bridge. If the vice president says that those protesting for their rights, for their life, for their survival are idiots, then the vice president is an idiot.
And on that note, I'll be catching you on the next one. Cheers, guys.